Welcome viewers, this is Media Track, the media program that looks analytically at the news of the past week. We don't specifically stick to Goa news. Sometimes we might just go a little away from that. But we try and give you a comprehensive picture of what is happening. I am Devika Sikwara and with me is my colleague
Ashley Duruzario.
So this week I'd like to, as I was just telling Ashley, I'd like to take a little more positive story because there's this, as you know, there's this unending, sort of the spool is still unwinding on the coronavirus crisis, which is affected Goa very badly. So we'll take a much nicer story to begin with. It is about the visually impaired student from Goa, class 10, who scored 73% in her exam. Her name, she's from Benauli, her name is Nympha Fernandez, and she had to face a tough time from the age of 11, to do her education. She had to live at the National Association for the Blind school in Santa Cruz because it was very far away from home for her to travel to and fro. So she lost her sight at a very early age. She's completely blind, but the struggle finally paid off when she scored 73.3%. And so Ashley, as I was telling you before the program, she wasn't alone. There was another student, Chetna Shahpurkar. She scored somewhere close, 72.3%, and there was another young boy, Francis Clement. He scored 63.8%. So this kind of an effort has to be, really appreciated and given some publicity, I would think. Now, to come back to a more wider story, we are going to look at the national education policy, which has, as we all know, reignited the whole debate on the medium of instruction. The new policy says it is not implicit, but it suggests that, it recommends that teaching in the primary section should be in the mother tongue. Now, Ashley, how has it been taken in Goa, where the medium of instruction issue continues to reverberate even now? Because there is a report in Herald which says a year and a half later, government yet to announce if it has accepted the expert panel's report on medium of instruction. What did this panel report say exactly? Do you have any idea?
Devika, this whole principle of primary education in the mother tongue is something that is recommended but not kind of made compulsory, mandatory for a long time. As far as Goa is concerned, I'm afraid it is more a issue of politics rather than education. Okay. For instance, if you remember, I think the first major decision by the government was way back in 1990 when PDF government was in power and Sashikala Kakurkar was the education minister, where overnight this rule was made and education was made compulsory in the mother tongue in the primary. So it was a overnight jump from a normal English or English medium of instruction to Konkani or Marathi in all these schools in Goa. So it did create a problem for both the teaching community as well as the student and parent community in Goa. At that time, there was an agitation and stuff like that, but nothing worked. Then again, a whole 15-20 years later, you had a set of thousands of parents taking to the streets demanding that, minority schools should have the option of deciding what language of instruction it should use. And eventually it was accepted by the government. But, to offset the other side from trying to build political capital, the government appointed this committee of experts.
Okay. And what did that committee say exactly?
It just reiterated what other experts in the past had been saying.
That it should
be in the mother tongue.
In the mother tongue.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you see, Ashley, I read in today's papers that the BBSM has actually gone and met the governor and asked him to see that, you know, the mother tongue thing is sort of adhered to in Goa, which means that they want him to sort of instruct the chief minister to bring in the mother. But the other fact is that hundreds and hundreds of government primary schools in regional languages, mother tongue, etc., have been shutting down, and everyone has been shifting to you know, private schools
or the aided schools.
Aided schools.
Yeah.
So the pressure, once again, you know, this whole thing of where the schools run by the diocesan society are going to go in this whole thing. Now, there is a report in your paper today which I read, and it says that the diocesan society has said that they are yet to study the national education policy. And then there is another group called FOSS which says that there will be no change, or they do not support any change. But it does sort of bring the whole thing back to the front burner. To the front burner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The debate will go on endlessly, Devika, because the problem is the education department hasn't been looking at the whole thing holistically.
Right.
You know, because in Goa you have a very quaint system. You have a system of all private schools running the schools as per their style of functioning or as per their whims, some say.
Yeah.
And the education department only operates by issuing circulars to them.
Yeah.
There is no holistic involvement of the department.
Yeah.
The department only looks after the government schools, the direct government schools and colleges and higher secondaries. So there is a kind of a disconnect between the government and the education system.
Okay. But at the same time, there was another story related to this about private schools and the fee structure, and there's been some confusion about that.
Those are unaided schools. These are these completely private schools which get no grants from the government at all.
Okay, so they are blaming the government for imposing some kind of restraint on them.
Government has the authority under the Education Act.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what will happen is, like, you know, you see these things happening to hospitals.
Yes.
There are hospitals who bill you like crazily.
Right. So there is no control.
There's no control over that.
Fees.
Yeah.
Charged.
So you know, of course they are private. No doubt about it. But it does not mean that it is education. No, it is not a transactional commodity. It is education. It's not a transactional service. So they just cannot be given the free hand to charge the way they like. There has to be a justification for every hike. If they are hiking a fee, they have to in advance tell the government that this year we are going to hike the fee by 15% and 20% and give their reasons, and the government has to approve it. Only after the government approves it can they actually go and hike the fees. So the problem here is that, you know, this parent association of kids going to these private schools had filed a writ petition in the High Court a couple of years ago. And then the High Court gave a directive to the government that you form a tripartite kind of a committee with representation to this parents association, representation to these private managements, and couple of government education department officials, which will come up with a mechanism of how they are going to hike the fees and how they are this thing. Now the problem that has come up here is that although the parents association was the petitioner in the High Court, and the High Court had directed that one of them be represented in that committee, the education department has unilaterally appointed one of their own persons as a representative of that association.
I see.
So that is the problem, problem right now.
Okay. To get back to the big story that is, of course, worrying everybody. There was this very interesting article I was just talking to you about, Ashley. It is done by Mihir Sharma, and it's a Bloomberg story, but it was carried in Economic Times. And he says the reason why big countries such as India are at a disadvantage in dealing with pandemics. I'll just read a bit from it. India is now the epicenter of the global coronavirus pandemic. It ranks just behind the US and Brazil in confirmed cases. And but one other more disturbing factor he points out is that the total rose 20% in just the last week. And this is despite the fact that India is testing less than most of its peers. So that figure could be much higher than 20%. So it's looking increasingly likely that India will wind up being the country with the most cases in the world. This is not just a function of its massive population, because he makes the comparison that China too has over 1 billion people. It is a reflection of the fact that big diverse countries like India are at a disadvantage in dealing with the pandemic. So he says that similar nations, smaller nations such as New Zealand or Thailand can manage the flow of cases by shutting down their international borders. But internal borders are as porous in India as they are in the US. Imagine, for instance, how impossible it would have been for Europe to flatten its curve if it hadn't suspended the Schengen Agreement and the freedom of movement for its 450 million people. So what is happening obviously is that, you know, even a place like Goa is now feeling the pressure of both the virus traveling internally and it coming into the state from across the border, and you know, as people travel. So, and we are now at over 5,000 cases.
5,000 odd cases.
5,000 plus,
5,000
with
plus.
43 deaths, which would go to 45
as
or
of
46.
Yesterday.
As of yesterday.
Yeah.
So
as of
now,
Thursday.
Now we are in that.
Yeah, but Devika, going back to what Sharma was saying, obviously he does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because, you know, India is such a diverse country. But the bigger problem, I think, is the centralized manner in which decision making is happening.
Exactly.
You
so
know,
that
all
is
decisions are being made in Delhi. Without understanding what are the local problems. You know, this is a problem with the health structure of India for a long time. I remember Dr. Jacob, who devised this whole pulse polio immunization thing that WHO picked up. You know, I attended a kind of a workshop where he was a resource person, and he, you know, very clearly and very bluntly said India's biggest problem is all decision making is happening in Delhi, and the people who are taking the decisions in Delhi think India is Delhi and Delhi is India.
And that is the thing. And now, you know, the center, the government on Thursday said that in a country the size of India, India's population, herd immunity cannot be a strategic choice. I mean, that is what they were saying earlier, that we are going to get herd immunity and it will be gone.
Yeah, but Devika, herd immunity is something that will eventually be reached. Whether it will be done in 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years.
So now they're saying,
but it is not a strategy to be adopted in India, because India has been hit by this pandemic not in one go. You know, like if you notice, India initially was hit in its metros, and that too just 2 of its 4 metros.
But there was a reason for that, and that reason
is
was
the travel from outside.
Exactly, the airports, and it came into the airports. The metros were the ones.
So in hindsight, that whole nationwide lockdown or the Janta curfew or whatever you call that, imposing it on the entire nation, when you did not study the local this thing was a blunder. In hindsight, it is a blunder. It should have been done strategically and progressively, geographically progressively.
But now look at us, look at Goa, Ashley, once again. Such a small state as we are, we cannot provide, proper treatment for a cancer patient who is struggling in a COVID hospital. That was the story you all carried, I think,
2 days ago.
2 days ago. And, to be just left there.
This thing is what we discussed here before, Devika, in one of our episodes. We said, imagine if a terminally ill cancer patient,
Yeah.
needs urgent medical treatment
Yeah.
and is also hit by COVID
Yeah.
with a second infection of COVID. Our systems in our government hospitals are not able to cope with that kind of pressure. And this is something that we had also discussed, that the private sector and the government sector has to sit together and sort these problems out.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when it comes to super specialties, like cancer, heart problems, or any of these super specialties, no one in Goa goes to the GMC.
Yeah.
Everybody goes to the private sector, private district. So if some person with a comorbid problem of these, either cancer or heart, is infected with COVID, he lands up in this government system which is not built to
But actually,
cater to that.
we do have super speciality in GMC.
They have
for
just
heart.
started it
Yeah,
2-3 years
or
ago.
whatever,
2-3 years ago.
It does work well. But it is just the lack of coordination. Now look at this: long wait for test result costs jobless foreign returnees dearly. So they are paying through their nose for, I don't know what, for the test, for staying in the hotel.
For staying in the hotels during the time that the test result comes.
Exactly. And now the Goa Forward has brought up this story where, they're saying that these people are being charged a much higher rate than the hotel normally charges. And according to them, because I talked to one of them, what they're saying is it's not the hotel exactly who is charging them, but it is the hotel, somebody's collecting a fee, some kind of, bribe, and hiking up the price, and prices are put up at the airport itself. I'm not sure what the story is, but this is what I heard from one of them.
This applies to the passengers that are coming without a COVID negative certificate.
Yeah.
Okay, those who do not come with a COVID negative certificate.
From abroad?
From wherever.
No, but it's a different thing if you're coming from another state.
From another state.
You can just walk in. And claim that you're in quarantine.
Yeah, you claim, you go for a self-quarantine stamp on you, and you go into quarantine. How that quarantine is supervised
it is not.
Or not, that nobody knows.
Several government officials have told me nobody is supervising them.
But now they have changed the SOP for people who test positive as well.
Yeah.
They have given the option for
stay at home. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
How that is going to work is, in the kind of system we have, is something that is really worrying.
Yeah.
They can't even check passengers coming from outside who are home quarantined.
Yeah.
How are they going to check on patients who test positive?
Yeah.
I am told from the time this new SOP has come in, about 3 people have applied.
Okay.
3 of the people who have tested positive have applied to be treated at home.
Okay.
But they have still not been given the permission to do that.
So what are they doing then? They are at home anyway.
They have no.
Okay.
No, they are in this COVID care centers.
Okay.
Not in the hospital, the COVID care centers. But the system of treating positive cases at home requires a very vibrant primary health center setup.
Yeah,
because you need a medical team well equipped to visit these patients on a daily basis, thrice a day.
Yeah.
I don't think we have the wherewithal to do that.
We don't. I mean, we just don't have the staff, and the government is flailing on all sides. And then you have this one day assembly session on Monday, which passed the budget without debate, discussion, and the opposition was just sort of making a huge noise, went to the well of the house. So how many bills were passed, and how significant are these
12
bills?
bills were passed. 12 bills were passed, but the controversial one on the panchayats, they kind of
just bulldozed.
No, they skipped it. They didn't bring it before the house.
Okay.
But they passed 12 other bills. Some of them are a little bit insignificant in that sense, but 3 or 4 of them are very significant bills. I don't understand the logic of that, but why they had to rush through so much of government business in
Yeah.
a single day?
Yeah.
The budget I could have understood because it is a compulsion.
Yeah.
It is a compulsion. But those amendments, and even, it seemed to me a bit of an ego kind of a battle between the ruling side and the opposition side. I could not understand why the Chief Minister could not accept the proposal of the opposition that said, don't pass the whole budget, take a vote on account for 4 months,
Yeah.
and we could pass the budget, the full budget at the next session.
Okay.
You know?
Now, I would think, okay, the Chief Minister once again used his very favorite, it's become a kind of a trending comment of his, Biupache Gorazna. It's trending all over, social media. Everybody sort of quotes him as saying, he said it again in the assembly,
yeah.
Things are fine, COVID treatment in Goa is best in the country, and people are to be blamed for delay in testing leading to mortalities, he says. I mean, when there are people just queuing up for testing, they just can't cope. There are 6,000 tests waiting to be declared.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
In Perne, there is a couple that I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of them was feeling feverish. It was on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Was feeling feverish. So went up to that testing center in Perne, health center.
Yeah.
There was nobody there at 9 in the morning.
Yeah.
The first staff member comes in somewhere at about 11.
Okay.
Opens that flu corner of the PHC,
Yeah.
primary health center, and no PPE equipment, nothing of that sort. These tests are done. I mean, these swabs are removed, but the results come after 5 days.
Yes, exactly.
The results come after 5 days. So it has to be streamlined. Something needs to be done at that health sector level.
And through all this confusion that we are going through in governance or whatever, the Karnataka government has just gone ahead and sanctioned 885 crore for that Kalsa Bandura project, the diversion of the Madai. Where does Goa stand in this? The Chief Minister has announced that, he has written to the centre. But does the centre really pay any attention to the Chief Minister?
I don't think the ball is in the centre's court. The ball is in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Because the government of Goa has challenged the tribunal award.
Yeah.
And there is a kind of a restraint on doing anything on the ground till such time as the Supreme
But
Court hears.
they haven't bothered about those restraints, Ashley. If you go on the ground, the work just goes on. It's like we can do anything because we have the same government at the center.
Yeah, Devika, the issue here is that the tribunal has given an award.
Yeah.
Has given an award where some 14 TMC is been granted diversion to Karnataka.
Yeah.
Now Goa's stand at that time when the award was issued,
Yeah.
I think Manohar Parrikar was in the saddle at that time. That award was acceptable.
It was acceptable because it was supposedly meant for drinking water purposes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now it's a question of implementation of that award and how the implementation is supervised.
Yeah.
Any interstate water sharing is supervised by a tripartite committee.
Yeah.
Comprising of irrigation officials from the concerned states.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have Goa has never been involved in any interstate water sharing issue before this.
Yes.
Okay, so there is no experience of how water sharing happens. So I believe it's a lack of understanding of the thing. But now that the government of Goa has put the ball in the Supreme Court, we'll have to wait. I think the hearing is in August.
It is on 24th August.
Yes.
August 24 for...
So, for strategic reasons, I was speaking to the Advocate General, Mr. Pangam, Devidas Pangam, nice gentleman. I was speaking to him about this whole Karnataka strategy. So he said, if you promise me that you would not publish a story on it, I will tell you the story.
Okay.
So strategically, the government is not coming out with its cards in the open.
Yeah.
Because the matter is in the Supreme Court.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, that whole issue will go on
and on. It's been going on for 3 decades.
Absolutely.
You know, so
in this disqualification petition, actually, I think the Congress got a little bit of a push. Their case got a bit of a push with the Election Commission saying that no one there's no record of any merger between the Congress legislative party and the BJP. So this, I believe, could be one reason why that assembly session was sort of pushed through, because one never knows. What if some order comes, but looking at the way
as things stand, Devika, no order can come until and unless the speaker issues some kind of an order.
Exactly. So only then can it be challenged.
Can it be challenged and can be reviewed by the judiciary.
Yeah.
But a very, very complex situation has come up right now. If you go only by the Goa thing, of course, this election commission story or development will have some bearing on that disqualification petition. But you take the Rajasthan case, the same situation Congress finds itself on the other side.
Yes, that's right.
You have those 6 BSP MLAs who merged with the Congress there in Rajasthan.
Yeah.
So let's see how it turns out. But the speaker has to come up with some decision on this disqualification petition. Okay, he's given this excuse of COVID, and because of COVID we couldn't hold the hearings and whatever. But the next hearing is coming up in the Supreme Court. Let's see what the Supreme Court directs the speaker to do. Okay,
just to end the program, I'm going to read a bit from your newspaper. There was a report which talked about these 2 Goan chefs, pastry chefs in the UK. They win hearts at baking finals. From Feni to Bebinka is the title of the story, and it talks of Clanny Rodrigues and Ryan Pinheiro, who went in for the Bake Off, the very popular UK program.
Talk show, UK TV show it is.
TV show, and they put up quite a good show, and they came right up to the finals, but unfortunately they lost the last round. All the same, it was interesting for a lot of people who watched, and they were rooting for them, and there was a lot of
Devika, historically Goans have done well in the culinary arts. So
Clanny Rodrigues is from Ponda and Ryan Pinheiro is from Lotuli, and they gave a taste of Goan heritage as they experimented with everything and anything Goan during the 9 weeks. I think one of them was even dressed as a magician, if I recall watching a bit of on YouTube. On that very happy note, we end the program. Thank you very much for watching, and do join us next week.